first off, who are you?
Well, my name is Emmerich Zach, and I was born in Austria quite some time ago, as you can imagine. Yeah, so anyway, that's who I am, Emmerich Zach.
And like, what exactly like classes do you teach here at Johnson & Wales?
Johnson & Wales, well, all kinds of different ones. My specialty really is cakes, especially wedding cakes, because I was in business for 25 years. I had 2 pastry shops in Philadelphia. And when I came to the United States, I was a very young man. I was 21 years old. I just came here for a year, maybe, just to see how things are done in the United States, and curiosity. Like so many young people, they want to go someplace when they're young. So here, people want to go to Europe. I wanted to come to the United States. So I fell in love with the United States because, first of all, when I came here in 1964, Europe still had a little bit of a rough time. You know, it's still recovering a little bit. And when I came to the United States, everything was so much easier to buy a house, to buy a car, to, you know, advance yourself. So I decided to stay in the United States. I came here on a green card, and that allowed me to work. And but then eventually I got married, and my wife wanted me to become an American citizen, so I made my citizenship. And then afterwards I started, you know, working for different places where they produced lots of wedding cakes and novelty cakes, and I always was the one who had the talent to take over that spot in the pastry shops. And eventually I wanted to have my own pastry shop, because I had enough following, enough customers who would come.
That
you know,
client
caterers.
base.
A lot of clients, especially caterers. And so I started out, and as I said, I had pastry shops for 25 years. In my heyday, I had as many as 30 employees. So, you know, starting from myself and one guy to, you know, so you can see what you can do when you really put your mind to it and work hard. Don't be shy, working 12, 14 hours days. That's what it takes when you have a business. Sometimes even more.
See, I feel like, at least in a lot of the students I've talked to, their like really big goal is like have their own restaurant or have their own like bakery.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of it is what like people don't recognize is that it takes a lot of time and patience and like consistently like working, and then like you're not just gonna have it like that, you know?
Well, I tell you, I make my students aware of it right on day one when they come to class. I said, if you're not willing to work more than 8 hours in this kind of business, then you don't belong in this business. And then they realize, they know it. My students know it. They are aware of the fact. And some people who are in the food business, you gotta be a little crazy, because when everybody else goes out partying, and on the weekend you usually, you know, that's when you are really busy. But, you know, you have to have it in your blood, like so many other things. So anyway, since I'm the cake specialist, I make all those specialty cakes. You know, if people get married here on campus, made many wedding cakes already for faculty and staff, and whenever they have a specialty program, like now they have the book contest in the library, they always come to me and say, you want to make the books? You know, do your students have making books? And that's why we made the book cakes. Usually it's a novelty cake, which is a groom's cake, because the cake, the class I'm teaching right now is the wedding cake class, the specialty cake class. So there's always a wedding cake and a groom's cake, and instead of the groom's cake, we made book cakes. So, So also teach introduction to cakes, how baking works. I teach cookies and petit fours, pies and tarts. My favorite is actually classic French pastry, because I had a pastry shop and I made a big variety of pastries. And on the East Coast, pastry shops are a little bit different. There's a bigger variety, first of all, most of the time, and products are a little bit different than here out west. And usually here at pastry shop, when you have one, it's something where you also serve maybe a lunch and sandwiches and things like that.
Yeah.
We do have that on the East Coast, but a lot of bakeries or pastry shops don't have that. You just go in there and buy your stuff and leave again. Now I had both of them. I had one bakery where everything was produced, strictly bakery, from Danish to donuts to breads and rolls to all the different pastries in between, cookies and pies, all the way up to fancy cakes and wedding cakes. And then the other one was like a typical pastry shop like you have it here, where you go in and you buy yourself your sandwiches for lunch or your soup, plus all the different pastries. Yeah, so I was working pretty hard.
So, before you came to America, were you like working in like bakeries or what?
Well, when I got out of high school, and in Europe at that time, you were done with high school when you were 14.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So you went from 6 years, you started with it when you're 6 years old, until 10. That was the what do you call it here, the grade schools, more or less, right? And then you had 4 more years of high school. And the teaching was very intense. There was no playing around, there was no show and tell and anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you went there to learn, there was no playing around whatsoever.
Okay.
So you basically were done when you were 14. Now, since there's a little bit more to learn, they have it up to 15. After that, you could decide, you want to go to learn a trade, or you want to go to a gym, what they call it, a gymnasium, or college. So I decided, since my parents really didn't have the money to support me in college, I decided to pick up a trade. So they were in my hometown, which is a spa town outside of Vienna, south of Vienna, called Baden bei Wien. They were looking for a pastry apprentice, so I started as a pastry apprentice, went through my apprenticeship, which was 3 years. Then after that, you become a journeyman. That means you go and look for a job in some different places. And that's what I did. I worked in different places. I went to Salzburg. I worked during the summer season in a place in Salzburg, in a hotel. Then I went, where else did I go? Then I went to a really nice pastry shop in my hometown, not the one where I was an apprentice. So wherever you go, you pick up some different things, you learn more and more. And then after 5 years, I decided to make my master pastry chef exam. And right after that, after I had that done, I came to the United States.
Okay.
So that's what they usually do in Europe. You become an apprentice, and it takes 3 years. It doesn't matter if you're an electrician, a plumber, a bricklayer, anything like that. And I think here we really should have trade schools, because everybody wants to go to college. And some people, I think, are not really made for college. And right now, look, a welder can make more money than, or if you work in construction even, you're a truck driver. If you're good in what you're doing, you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And yeah, so anyway, that's my opinion.
I understand. I think my perspective, because there are trade schools, and for most, at least from what I know of trade school, is a lot more technical and mechanics based. So
Mhm.
more like the automobile industry is more to have like trade schools than like other industries. I feel like the idea isn't promoted enough, where college is like very much heralded up as what like everybody should do, whereas like trade schools are just like, you might find out about it if it's something, if it pertains to something you're interested in. But yeah, no, I see what you mean.
Yeah, there are certain trades which are really in demand.
Yeah.
And there isn't enough people to really are good in it.
Yeah.
Like real good carpenters, construction workers. I mean, there's so much construction going on now.
Mhm.
You know, and yeah, if you are really went to a trade school, there again you can become a foreman.
Mhm.
If you don't have any schooling, usually
Yeah.
you're a helper, more or less. But if you want to climb up the ladder there again, and yeah, trade schools should give diplomas and all that, just like colleges do.
Yeah.
I think,
I just don't see why like it just can't be like one and the same. Like
Yeah.
I feel it's just more about like tackling it. Like I've always adored how the culinary program works, because it's a lot more continuous hands-on work, and it sort of instills this level of like consistency. Like there's very much a sense of cohesiveness throughout the program. Like I think everybody understands like this is like the level that you need to be performing at to
Mhm.
be able to like make it in this industry. And I feel like a lot of other programs don't really have that. Like I would love to have it like in the media program, where like students work more hands-on on like the process of what it would actually take to like write an article and like publish it, and like produce like a radio show, or like produce a video show, and then
Mhm.
all the process that goes into that.
Yeah, so there again, some people, they are more inclined for the academics, which
Mhm.
is fine. If
Yeah.
you like to do that, that's fine. That's great. But there are a lot of people that like to work with their hands. Some people, they come home and from being an academic, and maybe they start have a wood shop in the basement, or they like to garden with their hands, to
Yeah.
do some physical work.
Yeah.
That's what I would be. It would drive me crazy to sit in an office all day long. I could not handle something like that. So anyway.
So like, where were you first when you came to America?
When I first came, I had an uncle in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
He came to Philadelphia about approximately 15 years before me,
Mhm.
and he came to the United States again because there were two uncles and two aunts, so two couples who
Yeah.
married, and they lived in Philadelphia, and they came way back already
Mhm.
to the United States, and they aged, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden they were in the 70s, 80s, and they had houses, and but no children, both
Mhm.
couples, no children.
Yeah.
So they needed somebody to kind of take care of them and take over and take
Yeah.
care of business. So my uncle came, or he volunteered, and he came over, and eventually they passed away, and we got married here, and they stayed here. And then when he heard that I wanted to go someplace, I wanted either go to Australia or to the United States, because we also have relatives in Australia.
Yeah.
So my first choice actually was Australia. It was
Yeah.
more exotic. And he said, no, don't go to Australia. I need somebody here in the United States. So that's what I did. I came here, and I was looking first thing for a job, and my English was so-so. I learned English in school.
Yeah.
But I never thought that I'm going to actually use it. So, when you learn a language, you pay attention, and was never the greatest when it came to learning English. But then, when I came to the United States, all of a sudden I had to.
Yeah, no, I think
That
you
was
were-
my priority. And also at that time, when you came to the United States I was considered an immigrant because I had my green card.
Yeah.
It took only 2 weeks before Uncle Sam sent me a notice, a draft notice.
Mhm.
Yeah, at that time, there was, what war was going on? Vietnam, I think, yeah.
You said 60s, right?
64,
Yeah, I think that would have been about Vietnam.
yeah. So I had to go to the draft board and they examined me and they said, well, we give you a half a year because we want you to learn the language, and that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, and but then I had a fiancée in Austria,
Mhm.
and she came over, and we got married here in the United States. And at that time, they did not take married guys,
Mhm.
so I got out of it. So, and then as the war went on, eventually we had our first child.
Mhm.
We started taking married men, but not with children. So I got off again, which I consider myself lucky because, I might even be alive. Who knows what would have happened. But anyway, that's what it was, yeah. And then, I just started working.
Mhm.
Cheap labor because, I couldn't talk the language, so I had to take
Yeah.
a job. I was glad I had a job, and I learned English by watching, believe it or not, cartoons on television because
Yeah.
the language was kind of simple.
Mhm.
I started reading the newspaper, and it didn't take me long,
Yeah.
a year, until I was pretty good in English,
Mm.
at least enough to communicate, and
Yeah.
was read. I love to read, so I could read books eventually, and that helped me a lot. And then after working for 20-some years at different places,
Mhm.
not too many places. I'm not a guy who moves around too much.
Yeah.
I mean, my first job I had, I was there only about a half a year because it was a very low-paying job, and I said I have more talent than that. Then I started in a German bakery, which helped me because I could
the
talk
language is closer.
much easier. I learned a lot, and I was there for 12 years. And